All right, everyone, welcome back into another NBA props video. Going to be breaking down the top prop bets for this one-game slate between the OKC Thunder and the Minnesota Timberwolves. Let's go ahead and get into it. And so I do want to start off with a quick game preview, looking over the game lines that we are getting here as well. So looking at the Timberwolves side of it, obviously no injuries that we are really worried about. In terms of games line that we are getting, they are 7.5 point dogs in this game. Looking at the game total as well, basically around 215 to 217. So we are seeing like William Hill, where they're having it as a push. If you guys are someone that bets there, you could be betting the under at that point. Whereas if you are someone that bets on Fliff or Hard Rock Bet, they kind of have it as a push as well. You could be betting the game total over there. Just slight prop line differences that we are getting there as well. Same thing with BetMGM. Then obviously looking at the OKC side of things, they're going to be 7.5 point favorites in this game, and just the exact same things that we just touched on there. I just wanted to call that out to you guys, but it is a game in which OKC is favored to win by 7.5 points. We did see that in the last game, the OKC Thunder blew out the Minnesota Timberwolves, which obviously a lot of the unders for the Timberwolves ended up hitting there as well. So I think it's a good spot to start with the Timberwolves. As always, like at 7.5 points is when I start to worry about a blowout. And so when we're looking at these Timberwolves prop bets, a lot of them are going to be for the unders. So I'm going to be much more inclined to bet on those unders. And so, yeah, we go ahead and start off with the first prop that we're getting, which is going to be Jaden McDaniels for under his fantasy score of 24.5. Okay, we look at in the last game where he was only able to get 24 minutes, obviously got the under there at 21.7. Now, the one concern that I have with him is that we look at the hot streak that he was on there against the Golden State Warriors. It's kind of one of those things where the Thunder played so well and the Timberwolves played so bad. You could see that just flipping. Obviously, it was a good game for one team and a terrible game for another. Typically speaking, in the NBA, you do see that regression back to the mean. And so you could see someone like Jaden McDaniels end up getting his over 24.5 fantasy score. But all in all, we're looking at it, guys. It's the best bet that we have. Now, that being said, we are getting Julius Randle for under 7.5 field goals made as well as a bet that's popping up. And what's fascinating about this one as well is we're going to see the game average. A lot of people, I think, are betting on his over. Got 11K people. I'm assuming they're betting on his over. This is one of those difficult things here, guys, is that when looking at this line, it's like, are people placing the under bet because it's a good bet, or are people placing the over bet because they're being lazy bettors and obviously not being long-term profitable bettors by betting on the over? I'm assuming people are betting on the over, and that always kills me a little bit. Even if that ends up hitting, we know that that's not the correct strategy to go with. So a little bit annoying there. Okay, don't exactly like that. And if you're actually someone that maybe likes this bet and you bet on other sites other than PrizePicks, other than Underdog, you could bet the over there theoretically, because the payout is going to be better. Obviously, with Underdog and PrizePicks, we're trying to chase the prop bets that give us the highest percent likelihood of cashing. And so obviously chasing a bet that is off by that much, 56% edge, we'll take that every day of the week. And then from there, guys, we are getting Dante DiVincenzo for under his fantasy score. This was actually one of the bets that were one of the best bets for his over fantasy score in the first game. And he ended up getting that over in that game in 30 minutes. It's a difficult one there as well. Like, again, if we are betting on the game, Vegas to be right, I don't mind that under. I don't really mind any of these under. And naturally, I do think we want to be targeting those. Now, another bet I want to call Julius Randle for under his fantasy score as well. A little bit of a better bet on Underdog. And that actually makes me want to switch and get into some Underdog prop bets here as well. Okay, so we go ahead and take a peek at the Timberwolves. And this prop bet here for Julius Randle's an okay bet that we can get to, guys, there. But the best one that we are getting is actually Anthony Edwards for under his fantasy score of 43. Again, this one is just a little bit too high. Be interesting to see what the PrizePicks line comes out with, because he's one of those players where we have seen some different prop lines between the two sites. So do you think that's worth calling out? Another interesting bet that we are getting for Underdog purposes is Alexander Walker for over his points and assists of 8.5 compared to the PrizePicks line at 9.5. And actually, we are seeing the average sportsbook line kind of splitting the difference. They're giving him a line of 9. So naturally speaking, the line should probably just be 9 there. So a lot of decent prop bets here for Minnesota, especially if you are agreeing with Vegas and the Timberwolves potentially getting blown out with that 7.5 point spread, where you just like to end up on those under bets a little bit more. Okay, so now we go ahead and get into OKC, and this is kind of the same thing from their last game, is that with OKC, we're not really getting that many great prop bets here on paper, really none that we should be going out of our way to target, but I do think it's worth calling out. Like, we are getting what I would consider decent sportsbook bets, but not exactly crazy. Like SGA, I guess on PrizePicks to get 5 rebounds is a bet that we can like. It's just, will he get that over rebounds? That's kind of the concern there. We are seeing different lines here where some are heavily favoring the over, obviously at 4.5, right? And then we have a lot that are favoring the under there at 5.5. So just naturally speaking, probably going to end up being a push. So if you guys want to target that one with the chances of being a push, you can. The projection data and all the other data points are telling us that the most likely outcome is for him to get slightly over 5.5 rebounds. That can end up being lucky with a player like SGA, though, getting that additional ball to bounce his way. So don't always love attacking those ones. And then we have another one here as well, Alex Caruso for over 7.5 points. It just really comes down to how many minutes he's going to play. But he's been crushing it lately in terms of his overs. I would argue that he's actually due to not have a good day shooting, just simply given the fact that he has gotten this over in 5 straight games, right? That does concern me slightly there, but not a terrible one. But that's really it, guys. I mean, we are getting some slight edges here and there. SGA, slightly prop line difference there for his fantasy score, but nothing too crazy there. And so let's just go ahead and see, are we getting any potential hammer bets? And not for this game, okay? So maybe for, if you guys want to bet on, the Indy versus New York Knicks game, you can do that, but yeah, we're not really getting that there, at least for PrizePicks. We'll take a peek at Underdog. I'm just looking at the hammer bets, the bets where they're just checking all the boxes. Isaiah Hartenstein, not terrible for over 15.5 points and rebounds there on Underdog. I actually don't hate that one. That one's decent there, but not a bet that I think we need to go crazy with. And so because we're not exactly getting any other NBA bets that I like for OKC to run it back with for the Timberwolves, let's just take a peek at the cheat sheet, seeing if we are getting any prop bets we can get to maybe pair with that. I do like Jackson Merle for over his hitting fantasy score here. Again, just looking at it, compared to the other sites that are coming in, Underdog, the average sportsbook line, the projection data, the PrizePicks line is a little bit too low. So that's not a bad prop bet there. And then we also have one other one that I think is a pretty decent one as well. Cody Bellinger is not bad there, but I think Brett Rocker for over his hitting fantasy score is another clear edge that we are getting just compared to the Underdog line, the projection line, and the average sportsbook line. So that's going to be my way of attacking maybe a 5-slip bet here, is just using those two. Again, just liking those ones the most, simply because we are getting a clear and defined edge there. If you guys want to bet the unders on Underdog as well because of the prop line differences, you could. I don't think we necessarily need to do that, though. And so getting into the 9-to-5 bet of the day, just calling out those 3 NBA bets that we have. You can use those 2 MLB bets if you want to. But yeah, just calling out these 3. Again, trust in Vegas that they're right about the game. And then if they're right about the game, these should end up being good prop bets. I don't necessarily love attacking these lower lines. So we saw yesterday what happens sometimes when we attack the lower lines. Mitchell Robinson got a block and a steal early on in that game. 6 points right there, which basically meant that he was going to get his over. Now, he only got the over by like 0.6 yesterday, which was interesting, like a very tight sweat there, but did want to call that out. Like that is what happens. Like DiVincenzo ends up getting that, or McDaniels ends up getting that. Obviously, we can't control that, but that is kind of the one slight hesitation that I have with those smaller lines, where something like that, a block and a steal, does make a bigger impact with it being a high point total thing, and it's just a ball maybe ending up in their hands here and there. So worth calling out. But that's going to do it for this video, guys. Thanks for watching. Make sure to give a like and subscribe to the channel. If you guys want access to any of the tools that you saw in this video, make sure to head on over to 9to5sports.com. Get access to all the tools available on the website for just $10 a month. Thanks for watching. Good luck, and as always, let's keep cashing.